The Republicans of Gilead strike again, approving a near total ban on abortion, this time in Oklahoma. The measure is part of a wave of stringent abortion restrictions enacted by legislators in Republican-led states. And now, the far-right conservative-dominated Supreme Court appears poised to gut abortion rights entirely. The Oklahoma measure would make performing an abortion a felony, punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. The only exception would be to save the life of a woman in a medical emergency. It will now head to Republican Governor Kevin Stitt, who has vowed to sign every piece of pro-life legislation that comes to his desk. These efforts to set our country back 5 decades are not just coming from state legislators. A few prominent members of Trump's sedition caucus and others have also made very weird and frankly unhinged comments defending abortion bans in the name of their Christian faith, revealing their true beliefs on the purpose of women to be vessels for baby making and serving men.
Eternal souls woven into earthen vessels, sanctified by Almighty God and endowed with the miracle of life, are denied their birth by a nation that was born in freedom.
The antidote to darkness is light, and the antidote to a really grim future is filling the world with a lot of Christian babies who can bring that light to the world.
Hey, if you want to save the Judeo-Christian West, if you want to save civilization, start by having babies. Simple. Let's start there, right? We'll train them up. We'll get it done.
Lord Jesus. Joining me now is Robert Jones, CEO of the Public Religion Research Institute and author of White Too Long, The Legacy of White Supremacy in American Christianity, and Emily Wales, interim CEO and president of Planned Parenthood Great Plains, which oversees the region that includes Oklahoma. And I do want to start with you first, Emily. This bill is not just impacting Oklahoma, it's also impacting Texas. I mean, a lot of Texas women were fleeing to Oklahoma because Texas has the bounty law. Talk about the impact of this law on women in your state and your neighboring state.
You're absolutely right. In the last 7 months, we have been serving Texans in crisis. And right now we're seeing more Texans and Oklahomans on a daily basis who need abortion care. We know what a crisis looks like and how desperate these patients are. We see it every single day in their faces. And if Oklahoma enacts the same type of law, we'll only be pushing patients farther out. People won't stop seeking abortion care, but they will be fleeing if they have resources to neighboring states.
And the bottom line being that isn't the goal here, in your view, I don't know, well, I won't say isn't, I'll just ask you if you think the goal might be to put a law up that is so extreme, a woman would have to literally be in an actual emergency, with an ambulance pulling up in order to get a legal abortion now in the state of Oklahoma, that people like Planned Parenthood would be tempted to sue, and then it gets appealed and appealed and appealed, and it lands right there in the minimum 5-4 far-right court that John Roberts can't even stop from just destroying abortion rights altogether. Isn't that the fear?
No, we're absolutely terrified that that's going to be the situation. We're focused on patient care every day, but our patients are confused. They're asking us why their constitutional rights are different in one state than another. And the Supreme Court has now had the Texas case a number of times and failed to intervene. So the reality that we could be living in this same situation here at home is very, very real to us. And our patients are scared. Already we have patients who are asking us about their ability to get contraception or other services because they know their rights are under attack.
Well, good. At least they're awake. At least they understand what's happening. Robbie, I always like having you on. Look, right now, 2022 alone, I'm just going to read this from the Guttmacher Institute, 529 restrictions plus passed in 41 states, 48 restrictions passed through one chamber, at least in 13 states, 9 restrictions in 5 states. It's going everywhere. And it's really on a clip. And it's only happening because they now have a 6-3 court. So even John Roberts' institutionalism can't stop them. You saw, youth pastor Madison Cawthorn up there trying to act like he was preaching. This is Christian nationalism. This is part of their dogma, no?
Well, I think you're right to link this up, and I think you're right to call it extreme. There's no issue that we really have more data on than the legality of abortion. We have 5 decades of data on what Americans think about this, right? It's really clear. The latest data we have at PRRI, 6 in 10 Americans support the legality of abortion. And there you hear the Christian language, right? Judeo-Christian invoked. And as if this is a Christian issue. But the truth is, in the American landscape, there's really only 2 religious groups in the American landscape that oppose the legality of abortion. They're both evangelical groups. It's white evangelical Protestants and Latino evangelical Protestants. But white Catholics, Latino Catholics, African-American Protestants, Jews, all support the legality of abortion. And in fact, when we get down to looking at these near total bans or total bans, what's also striking is that only 15%, that's 15% of Americans say abortion should be illegal in all cases. And there's no state in the country, including the most conservative states, where more than a quarter in that state say that abortion should be illegal in all cases. And in Oklahoma, newsflash, it's 15, exactly what the national average is. 15% of Oklahomans, that's all, support a total ban on abortion.
But here's the thing, Robbie. This comes back to what you wrote in your book and what you do in your research. Do these people even care about that? Do they believe in the separation of church and state? Or do they not believe that this Christian minority, even if they are only 15% of the population, ought to make the laws when it comes to what women are allowed to do with their bodies?
Well, I think it's right to go there and use Christian nationalism earlier. It is a kind of dominionism, right? A kind of Christian dominionism that's not new. I mean, it's been with us for quite some time, but it's found new energy with Trump, with the Trump administration and afterward. And so, you gave the number of bills there, but, we talked about before the number of bills that are against critical race theory, the number of bills that are attacking LGBTQ rights in this country. They're of a piece here. And if you're asked what's going on and what holds them together, I mean, maybe one more poll question, since I'm a pollster, I'll give you one more, is this question we've asked. It's a very big picture question, but I think it links it all together. And that is a question that asks, do you think that American culture and way of life has changed for the better or changed for the worse since the 1950s? The country is fairly divided on that question, but the two political parties are mirror images of one another. 2/3 of Democrats say it's changed for the better. 2/3 of Republicans say it's changed for the worse, but there are no groups that say it's changed for the worse more than conservative white Christian groups. Part of what holds this together is this kind of, as these groups are declining, they're no longer majority culturally or demographically in the country. It is this kind of last kind of flailing and extreme effort, really, to kind of drag the country back to a time when they really were the political cultural majority that they no longer are today.
And I think everybody watching this show needs to understand, and you need to be really clear about this. They were patient, and they built a 6-3 court so that, again, even John Roberts institutionalism can't stop them. They are one Supreme Court decision away from making abortion illegal in the entire United States. If you don't think they're going to also come for contraception, you're fooling yourself. They want to create a white Christian identity movement that's national and that cannot be stopped because the Supreme Court will affirm it. Watch it happen. Y'all don't want to vote? You better vote, especially for senators, because that's who decides who gets on the court. And they have built this court on purpose for a reason. Y'all got to wake up. Robert Jones, Emily Wales, who is living this nightmare already in Oklahoma. Thank you both very much. Still ahead, Senator Elizabeth Warren is here to talk about the life-changing impact of the Biden administration's extended pause on student loan payments and much more. We're back after this.